Okay, perfect. So today we're going to be learning about biographies. What are we going to learn about?
Biographies.
Biographies, okay? So now before we begin learning about our biographies, let's go ahead and review our objectives. Our objective for today is students will define and identify how biographies are different from other types of books, and students will classify biographies based on their characteristics. First off, raise your hand if you know what the word genre means. What does the word genre mean? Nobody here remember that? Yes.
I think
That's okay. So genre is the way books and music and movies are classified into different subjects, okay? So for example, what are some genres you've learned about? Like fiction? Non-fiction? So what are some other ones that you've learned about? Maybe with Miss Webster? Oh, raise your hand. Kensley.
Sometimes books can be kind of fictional and some non-fictional, but sometimes it can happen and some parts of the book can't happen.
That's right. So that's called realistic fiction. Realistic fiction is when it's fake story, but at the same time, some of the things that happen in the story can actually happen in your life. What are some other genres? Yes, Johnny.
Fairy tale.
Fairy tales. We've all learned about fairy tales in your classes. Yes.
They're different.
Okay, they're different. You're right. Yes, Ignacio.
Like dreams in your head that you think about, like in your future, but it's not going to happen.
Yeah, that's fiction. Enos. Wars. Okay, that's not necessarily a genre. That may be part of the genre, but genres are like fiction, non-fiction, fairy tales, mystery, or how we have like scary stories. Okay, so how do I know if a story is fiction or non-fiction or a fairy tale? How can I tell? If I give you a book, how can you tell? Yes, ma'am.
By the pictures, if you don't see them in, like they look real life, you can tell it's made up.
If they look real, they're made up?
No, if they look not real.
If they look not real, I can tell by the pictures. Jim.
You can read is the word. He's in the word real. Like the word real is not fiction.
Okay, when you read the story, does it say the word real? Kinsley.
Like sometimes in movies, at the end of like a trailer, it says like this is based on a real story.
They'll tell you it's based on a real story. Good one. Yes, Ignacio.
And sometimes on stories, you gotta read, and sometimes if it says she had a magical wand or something, you know that's never real.
So if I see it has magic or something, I know that's not real. What do all fairy tales start with?
Once upon a time.
They start with once upon a time, they end with happily ever after. So I know that that's then a fairy tale, okay? So what I want you to do real quick is on your table, you have a stack of biographies, okay? I'm going to give you and your table group about 1 minute, and I want you to just look at the biographies and tell me, what do you notice that they have in common? What do you notice they all have in common? Go. Grab the books gently. Make sure you're not ripping the paper. So you're looking through the books, looking at them, seeing what do they have in common?
They're very realistic.
How are they alike?
What is your book?
What do they have that's the
book?
Yeah. You're not reading them, you're just looking through them. So looking at the pictures, looking at the front and back cover, skimming through. Yeah. It cracked me up. It's okay. Because my class is smaller than this class. Okay, 1, 2, 3, eyes on me.
1, 2, eyes on you.
Raise your hand and tell me, what did you notice that all the books at your table have in common? They're all about different people and different topics, but what do you notice they have in common? Joe.
This book is like what happens, like it can actually happen. It can dream.
Okay, so it has real things that actually happen in the real world. Yes, Conlon.
That they're all, and I could do all realistic. Like people actually did them.
They're all real, okay? There's real people. What else, Emmanuel? You can do it, okay? How? So he said his book has real pictures, so that's how he knew. It had real pictures. Jim.
He's a real man.
Oh, it has a picture of a real man in his book too? Yes, Ignacio.
And it has a pirate in it, and it has like a little bread in it, and it says London and stuff. And I know it's real.
So it had a place, and we know that London is a real place. Okay, yes, Ellen I.
Like this stuff, I don't know why they wrap around this, and I don't know what they do with it.
Okay, so she already knows some information, so she can tell us. She already knows a little bit about that.
This is like they wear like a little blanket wrapped around one shoulder to the waist.
Okay, yes, ma'am.
In real life, they don't have to. I could tell because in this middle it's this child looks like a cartoon a little bit. It's not like a real person, but I know it's real because you can mean she can be a mayor or a president, and on the front it's just a real person.
Okay, so she said on the front it shows a real person, and she knows the president is a real person, and she knows mayor, all of that stuff is real. Even though when she looked inside there was cartoon pictures, she knows it's still a real story. So some of you guys have books like this, and just because it has a cartoon picture does not mean it's not real, because this story is still a biography. So hands down, we're going to talk about biography. So what I want you to do real quick, go ahead and stack your books in the center of your table, and then put your hands in your lap so we're not tempted to touch anything.
Can I put my already?
No. Okay, ready? In 3, 2, 1, 0. Your hands are in your lap. So we're not touching anything. Your eyes are on Miss Tronstad. Okay, so biographies are texts written to inform readers about a real person. Okay? They share facts in chronological order about a person. So they're not going to jump around and say, oh, when they were 10, oh, now when they were 30, now when they were 1. They're going to go in order from when they were born all the way through the rest of their life. Okay? It is narrated by an author who is not the person in the story. So a biography is a story written about a person that's not themselves. So I couldn't write a story about myself and call it a biography. That's an autobiography. A biography is if I wrote a story about Kinsley. Because is Kinsley a real person?
Yes.
Yes, and I'm not Kinsley. So then I can write a story about her, and that's considered a biography. It includes the author's opinion of the person. So does that author think that person is great? Does that person think they're bad? Put your hand down, please, and ask. And then usually in a story, usually in a biography, we know it's a biography because it tells you about that person's childhood. So their family, where they were born. It tells you about their character traits. What do they look like? How do they act? How do they treat others? It tells you the challenges. What struggles did they face? Okay, what tried to hold them back? And then their legacy. What did they do that was important? How did they change the world? Because most of the time when you see a biography, it's going to be about people who changed the world. It's not about just everybody else, okay? Now, I could always write, again, like I said, a story about Kinsley. I can write a biography about Kinsley, and that's still a biography. But the books that you're going to find in the library are going to be about people who changed the world. So, usually in a biography, we see dialogue and quotes. Raise your hand if you've ever heard of dialogue and quotes. I'm sure Ms. Webster would be very proud of that because I know you guys have talked about it. Dates and locations. So, for example, we said that we saw the word London. We know London is a real place. And timelines and a theme or a message. Okay? So, what we're going to do now is Ms. Tronstad is going to read you a story. Okay? I'll tell you what kind of story. I'm going to read you a biography about a man named Abe Lincoln. Raise your hand if you've ever heard of Abraham Lincoln.
Ooh.
Yeah. Who is Abraham Lincoln? Raise your hand.
He's a president.
He was a president. He was the 16th president. He was the 16th president of the United States until he died. So, do you think he's still alive today?
No.
No. But he's still important. You could still write a biography. They still have biographies about him.
But he was getting made in the penny.
Yeah, that happened a long time ago. He is on the penny. You're right.
He was famous.
So, do you think he's important?
Yes.
Yes, ma'am.
And the reader, the illustrator, and the author, if they wrote the story when he wasn't alive, they have to do research on him to write about him.
That's right. They did have to do research to write about him. Sit down, please. Okay, so what we're going to be doing today, as we're reading, hands off the books, thank you. Oh, shh. I really want to read you the story, but we have to be sitting in our chairs. And we have to have our voices off. Okay, so as we're reading today, I want you to pay attention to what characteristics of a biography do you see or hear in this story? Does it talk about his childhood? Does it talk? Oh, we don't know yet. We haven't read it. Does it talk about the challenges? Does it talk about the character traits? How do you know? We haven't read it. You don't know, but we haven't read it. Every biography is different, so this may not be the same as another biography you read about Abe Lincoln.
Yeah.
Because they're written by different people. Okay, so you're sitting up straight in your chairs. Your eyes are on me. Heads up. Okay, heads up. Thank you. So, let's go ahead and begin. Abe Lincoln, the boy who loved books. In the wilds of Kentucky, 1809, a boy was born. His mother called him Abraham, his last name Lincoln. His bed was made from corn husks, his covers skinned from bears, his cabin built with logs from towering trees. Abe said his first words in that one-room cabin, took his first steps on a hard dirt floor. A wood fire chased the coals and cooked the corn pone. The door swung open, shut on leather hinges. A tiny window looked out on his world. When he was 2, his folks packed their few goods and moved Abe and Sarah to Knob Creek. The Cumberland Trail ran close to their new cabin. Abe saw peddlers, pioneers, politicians, traders, slaves pass by. As Abe grew, he talked to travelers, heard where they'd been, where they were going. He saw their world was wider than his own. His ideas stretched. His questions rose. His dreams were stirred. At school, he worked with numbers 1 to 10. He shaped his letters A to Z with a charcoal stick. He wrote them down day in, day out, in school, at home, in dust, in snow, on logs of wood. The letters cast a magic spell. He loved to learn. His parents had no schooling, but when day was done, the family sat close by the fire. His mother shared the Bible stories she knew by heart. His father spun yarns, told jokes, and made them laugh. When Abe was 7, the family moved again. The Lincolns set out one December morning. Their bits and pieces piled on 2 stout horses, they walked and rode 100 miles to Indiana. They crossed the Ohio River on a makeshift ferry. Abe helped his father hack a trail through forests thick with trees and tangled vines, until at last they came to land they claimed. No cabin waited at Little Pigeon Creek. Instead, a half-base camp of branches, twigs, and logs was where they had to stay. One side opened wide to the wilderness. The family kept the wood pile stacked. The blazing fire scared off wild animals that roamed the woods. Bears growled, wolves howled, panthers screamed. Abe shivered. Dark was a fearsome time. Then settlers came to help the family raise a home. Now Abe and Sarah had a loft to call their own. Abe loved to climb up to his sleeping place, but snow and wind blew through the cabin's cracks. The outside crept indoors and iced the walls. Just once, Abe shot a turkey in the woods, but not again. He vowed that he would not take the breath from living things. When Abe was 8, he helped his father clear their land. He learned to swing an axe and fell the trees, but he longed to learn from books, to go back to school. When Abe turned 9, dark days fell upon him. Milk sickness took his mother to her grave. Abe whittled pegs to put in her pine coffin. His grief so deep, he could not speak her name. A year lived by. His father went to find a wife. He brought back a widow with 3 children, her heart so wide. She took in Abe and Sarah as her kin. And she owned books. Pick your heads up, please. She let Abe read when chores were done. Once more their house of logs became a home. She sent the children back to school. Abe wore 2 short buckskins and a raccoon cap. He drew his letters with a turkey buzzard quill. Abraham Lincoln, his hand and pen. He will be good, but God knows when. He learned to add, subtract on planks of wood, but most of all, he loved to read with spelling bees, spin yarns, and tell tales. When school was shut, Abe hired out to farmers. His father kept the earnings for the family. Abe split rails, dug wells, chopped trees, but all the while he worked, he yearned to learn. To anyone who'd listen, he'd like to say, the things I want to know are in books. Once again, rain leaked through the cabin roof and soaked a book he borrowed. For 3 hot days, he pulled stalks of corn in his friend's field to pay him back. When Abe plowed, a book sat in his back pocket. At each row's end, he'd take it out and read. His horse would wait for him to turn the page. The neighbors shook their heads and called him lazy. They did not understand this bookish boy. Abe knew he must move on out of the wilderness. Splitting rails and plowing land was not his dream. At 19, he pulled a flatboat down the river, saw people and places beyond backwoods, saw black men, women, and their children bound in chains. The sign above their heads read auction block, a life for sale like a hatchet, axe, or plow. Abe knew it was unjust to own another. New Salem, Illinois was where Abe settled. 100 folk or more lived in this place. He hired on to run the general store. Folks like to tell that once he overcharged someone 6 cents, but honest Abe walked miles to give it back. Even here, Abe was asked to prove his worth with brawn, not brains. The owner of Abe's store set up a wrestling match against the leader of a wild, rowdy gang. Reluctantly, Abe took Jack Armstrong on. Some said that Abe pinned Jack to the floor. Others swore Armstrong beat Abe with a trick. But when Jack saw Abe's strength, he shook his hand. They became close friends for years to come. By firelight, he studied law without a teacher. Soon he became a lawyer in the courts. Abe saw that words could free or jail a man. He found that words could change the way folks thought. When politics began to call his name, Abe aimed his words at wrongs he'd like to right. Friends said that he could run for public office. He tried for Congress first and then for Senate, and at last he ran for the highest office in the land. Abraham Lincoln, born in a log cabin, child of the frontier, head in a book, elected our 16th president. From the 16th. From the wilderness to the White House, he learned the power of words and used them well. Yeah. So now, real quick, what did you learn about Abe Lincoln that maybe you didn't know before? What did you learn about Abe Lincoln that maybe you didn't learn before?
He read.
Oh, raise your hand. Enos. You like to read, okay? Yes, ma'am.
We learned about his childhood.
We learned about his childhood. Yes, sir.
He moved to a lot of different places.
He moved a lot. Yes, sir.
That he lived inside a house made of wood.
He lived in a house made of wood. Hands down. Thank you. Yes, sir.
That he was born in a wooden house.
He was born in a wood house. Yes, sir.
They were all poor.
Yes, ma'am.
I have a question. Why does he have to keep moving every single time?
I'm not sure why. It didn't tell us, did it?
Nope.
Nope. Maybe that's something we could research. Yes, ma'am.
That he was a war and I think because he moved a lot is because maybe they're trying to find if there's a place if there's some feathers and just a wooden house.
Maybe. And my last friend, Emmanuel.
They even crossed the river.
They crossed the river, okay?
It's like a border.
What were some characteristics of a biography that you saw in this book? What were some characteristics of a biography that you saw in this book? Some of my friends already mentioned some. Yes, Emmanuel.
His sister.
His sister. So it talked about his sister, which is part of his what?
Family.
Family and his childhood. Yes, ma'am. L9. Abe Lincoln. Yeah, what about him?
He loves to read.
He loves to read. So we learned about Abe Lincoln, and he loves to read. Yes, sir.
Lincoln moved a lot, and he got better and better.
Okay. So we learned that he became a president. So that would be something that would be a legacy. What is that called?
Legacy.
Yes, sir.
I think he moved a lot for he can be like the president of the state.
Maybe. But remember, we're talking about what characteristics of a biography. So does it talk about his childhood?
Yes.
Does it talk about what challenges he faced?
Yes.
Does it talk about his legacy? What challenges? What challenges did he face? Enos.
He fired, but then the person that he fired, they started to friends.
Okay, so he had to fight somebody. What else? Kinsley.
Like he had to move a lot, and it was hard for them, and about her mom.
His mom died. They moved a lot. Okay, so what we're going to do now is on your table, you have your books, okay? But you also have a chart, okay? You also have a chart. What you're going to do is I'm going to add a couple more books, and you're going to sort these books into two categories. One is biographies, and one is fiction. Boys, did I tell you to touch the books? So sit down, please. Sit down, please. Okay. One is fiction, and one is biographies. You're going to sort the books into the correct category, and then you're going to tell me how you know. What characteristics tell you that this is a fiction book and this is a biography? Do we understand what we're doing?
Yes.
Okay. I'm only going to give you about 5 minutes to do so. How much time?
5.
Okay. Go.
This side of biography, this side.
You're not reading them, you're just sorting them.
I want to look at King George. No, I didn't.
You're sorting the fiction books and the biographies.
This is
And then telling me why.
this is real.
Okay, why?
No. No, that's fake.
Go back to my chart.
Yeah, that's real. No, this one. This is
So y'all have enough room to lay them out. Lay them out like this.
over here. It's real. If you don't blame it.
Okay, 1, 2, 3, eyes on me. So I'm walking around, I'm looking, it looks like most of us got them right. So raise your hand and tell me, what were some characteristics of your fiction books that let you know, hey, this story is fiction, and these ones were biographies? What told you, what characteristics told you that? Jim?
Say this because Iron Man can fly, but in real life, not can fly.
Okay, so he knows that, hey, this is a fiction book because, one, it's Avengers. He's heard about the Avengers before, and he knows Iron Man, yeah, in the movie he can fly, but in real life, do we have an Iron Man who can fly? No, so he knows that can't be a biography, okay? Oh, we raise our hand. Sit down correctly. Thank you. Yes, ma'am.
We knew how these were fiction because we looked at the pictures inside of them and we read them, so we thought these were fiction and those were not.
Okay, so what was different about their pictures compared to their pictures?
These were like toys from a movie, and these are like people from a
Johnny, sit down.
real life and from real world.
Okay, so this one has real life pictures. This one has pictures of cartoons. Johnny.
This one is a real person.
Okay, so it's a real person. He knows that Martin Luther King Jr. is a real person. He's learned about him before. Enos. They were switched about what fiction and nonfiction is. Kinsley.
The one that we looked through the pictures and we saw that it shows Disney on here, so we thought. So we saw this book and we saw Disney on it, and first when we looked at the pictures, we thought it was maybe real life because it looked real. And then we saw that the background doesn't look real, and then the flowers can be like dead, and like those flowers never seen that.
So sometimes she's saying, sometimes we get tripped up because we look at a book and we see that there's real people, but as she looked deeper at the story and she looked at the background, she realized that that wasn't a real story. That was not a biography about a real person. Instead, it was a fictional story. So what we're going to do now is I'm going to pass out this paper. You're going to put your first name, last name, and date. What is going to go at the top? Date. Okay. I'm going to give you 5 minutes. How much time?
5.
You have 5 minutes. You are going to write the title of one biography at the top right here and tell me, how do you know it's a biography? I need 3 characteristics. How many?
3.
Then you're going to choose one fiction story and you're going to write the title of that fiction story right here. And you're going to tell me 3 characteristics of how you know it's a fiction story. You are doing this on your own. This is independent practice, meaning you do it independently, which is on your own. So you should not be talking. Do you understand?
Yes.
Okay. As soon as I give you your papers, you go ahead and get started. You boys know better than to act like that, especially when someone is teaching. So you can teach only 3 laps. Not you two, just them. Because they're the ones playing. So you're writing one book that's fiction, and then one book that's a biography. Thank you. Double, and I'm going to make one side. This one You tell me? You're supposed to tell me. You're supposed to put the title of the biography book right here and the title of the fiction book right here. You have about 3 minutes left, 2 to 3 minutes left. Remember, in the first blank, you're writing the title of the biography book you chose, and you're writing the title, and then you're writing 3 characteristics. And then the bottom one, you're writing the title of the fiction book you chose, and 3 characteristics. So this is the biography title. So where's your biography? So where's the title? So copy the title right here. Sit down. We're not talking, boys. You're doing this on your own. Sit down, please. Look at me. We need to stop trying to touch all the books. Where is your biography and where's your fiction book? Which one's your biography?
Like biography.
Biography. Yeah, is real. Which one is the book? Okay, so write the title of that book right here. Listen, now tell me 3 characteristics of how do you know that's a biography? How do you know that's a biography? Now tell me how you know that's a biography. What characteristics does it have that matches our chart? So what are you doing? So remember, this is for the fiction story. So this is the fiction story. This is the real story. So right here is where you tell me how the characteristics of how you know it's a real story. Okay.
It's also the same thing.
Yeah. You can keep it there. It's fine. Okay. 1, 2, 3. Eyes on me.
1, 2, eyes on you.
What we're gonna do now. I'm gonna come around. You're going to complete this exit ticket. Okay. It has 3 questions. It says, what is a biography? It has your answer choices. You can circle A, B, or C. And then it asks you, is biography fiction or nonfiction? You're going to circle which word. And then you're going to tell me 3 characteristics of how you know it's a biography. Okay? If you liked this story that we read today about Abraham Lincoln, or you liked biographies, Miss Yater has an entire section right back there that has a bunch of biographies about different people. It can be presidents. It can be about if you love sports, sport players. So many different types of biographies back there that you guys can check out when you come to the library, okay? So you have 5 minutes left. You're going to spend the rest of your time working on this exit ticket. Do you understand?
Yes. That was my stuff.
That's okay. I think I messed for us gave y'all one. Let me give y'all an extra one. I think I'll only count to 3 for y'all. There you go. So you need to share them with your friends. See how there's extra underneath?
I think we got an extra one.
I'll come get it. Thank you. So you're working on your exit ticket. Thank you, boys, for stacking the books at the center.
Teacher.